Welcome on the channel Nice Stories. Today we have intriguing story about
I've been married to my husband for 32 years, and I thought we had a strong, loving relationship. We built a life together with our two children, a 27-year-old son and a 30-year-old daughter, and now have four beautiful grandchildren. We faced our fair share of challenges over the decades, but I've always felt like we were solid. Like our love could weather anything. But now, everything I thought I knew about our family and our life together is unraveling. And it's all because of a secret I've kept buried for 28 years. A secret that's now come to light and is threatening to destroy us. It all began last week when my son came over unexpectedly. I could sense that something was wrong as soon as he walked through the door. He had that look on his face, a mix of worry and sadness, and my heart sank. My husband was at work, so it was just the two of us. I asked him to sit down, and we sat across from each other in the living room. The tension in the air was almost suffocating. I asked him to just tell me what was going on, to share whatever it was so we could face it together. Never in my wildest imagination did I think that what he was about to say would turn our lives upside down. My son hesitated, struggling to find the words. He finally said he was just going to lay it all out and see what I had to say. At this point, I was getting seriously concerned. My mind raced with possibilities. Was he sick? Was there a problem with his marriage or kids? But what he said was something I never could have prepared myself for. He told me that a few months ago, he had taken an ancestry DNA test. He explained that he, like his father, had always been interested in genealogy and wanted to know more about his roots and family history, not just for himself, but also for his kids. I remember my husband encouraging him to do it, talking about the fascinating discoveries he might make. I still didn't fully grasp the gravity of what my son was trying to tell me. I even asked if the result had shown some kind of genetic medical issue, trying to anticipate what might be coming. "No, Mom," he said quietly, "that's not the problem." Then he took a deep breath and told me the truth. The results showed that my husband had no common DNA with him. My son had just discovered that the man he thought was his biological father his entire life wasn't actually related to him by blood. In that moment, I felt the world collapse beneath my feet. I started shaking, my hands numb, my vision blurring. It was like I was hearing the words but couldn't fully comprehend them. My son asked if his dad knew. I managed to whisper no. How could he? How could I? I didn't even know for sure until this very moment, though in my heart I had always harbored a tiny dark corner of doubt. It was a doubt I had buried so deep and tried to forget, convincing myself it was nothing, that it was impossible. Now, that doubt had become an unbearable reality. 28 years ago, our marriage was in a tough place. My husband was working long hours trying to save up for a house deposit, and we were going through a stressful time. We were also trying for a second child, and the pressure was taking its toll on both of us. One of my husband's friends was going through a rough breakup around that time, and he started spending a lot of time with us. He was lonely, and we were trying to be supportive. One night, my husband was working late as usual, and his friend and I found ourselves talking in the living room. We had been drinking, and the conversation had turned deep, talking about life, regrets, and all the struggles we were facing. The alcohol blurred the lines between what was appropriate and what wasn't, and before I knew it, we had crossed a line that never should have been crossed. We had sex. It was a drunken, regrettable mistake that neither of us really remembered clearly the next day. In the harsh light of morning, we were both horrified and agreed that it would never happen again, that we would take this secret to our graves. After that night, I shoved what happened so deep down inside of me that I almost managed to convince myself it didn't happen at all. I told myself that it was a one-time lapse in judgment, nothing more. I tried to forget about it and move on, focusing on my marriage and my family. A few months later, I found out I was pregnant, and any nagging doubts I had about the timing were quickly overshadowed by the joy of welcoming a new baby into our lives. When our son was born, he looked so much like my husband and me that I dismissed the small voice in my head that whispered he could be someone else's child. He had my husband's eyes and smile. There was no way he could be anyone else's son. I convinced myself of that, and over the years, I buried the past deeper and deeper until I thought it was gone forever. But now, the truth was staring me right in the face, and I couldn't hide from it anymore. My son's discovery was going to force this long-buried secret out into the open, whether I was ready or not. He was adamant that I needed to tell my husband before he found out on his own through ancestry. He was right. My husband would find out soon enough. I couldn't keep this hidden anymore, not from him, not from our family. But the thought of what this revelation would do to my husband, to our children, to our grandchildren, it was almost too much to bear. I could see our entire life falling apart in front of me, and I felt powerless to stop it. My husband has always been a loving and dedicated man. He's been my rock for all these years, even during the difficult times. Our marriage has had its ups and downs, but I always believed in us, believed that we had built something unbreakable. I never wanted to hurt him, but now I was faced with the devastating truth that I had hurt him in the worst possible way, and for all these years, I had let him live a lie without even knowing it. The guilt and shame are eating away at me, and I don't know if I have the strength to look him in the eyes and tell him what I did. But I also know that I can't let him find out on his own. For the past week, I've barely been able to function. I lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'm going to find the words. I keep playing out scenarios in my mind of how he might react. Will he hate me? Will he be devastated? Will he leave me after all these years? I think about the impact on our children, especially our son, who must be feeling like his entire identity has been shattered. I think about how this will affect our grandchildren, how it might change the way they see their grandparents or even their parents. I'm terrified of the fallout, of the pain and confusion this revelation will bring to everyone I love. My son has been understanding but firm. He's given me time to process, but he's also made it clear that I can't delay this conversation forever. He needs to know where he truly comes from, and my husband deserves the truth. I've thought about reaching out to the friend, the man who could be my son's biological father, but I haven't spoken to him in decades, and I don't even know where to begin. I'm not even sure if he remembers that night or if he ever wondered about the possibility of being a father. Would it even matter at this point? The damage has been done, and knowing for certain who my son's biological father is won't change what I did or the consequences we're facing now. I know I can't turn back time and undo the mistake I made all those years ago, but I have to figure out a way to tell the truth without completely destroying the life we've built. I don't know if it's possible, but I owe it to my husband and my son and the rest of our family to try. The fear of losing everything I hold dear is overwhelming, but I have to believe that there is a way to get through this, even if it seems impossible right now. I'm bracing myself for the hardest conversation of my life, knowing that the truth may break us, but also knowing that keeping it hidden would be even worse. I have to hope that love and forgiveness can somehow find a way to mend the pieces of our shattered life, even if it will never be the same again.